Welcome, everybody, to an evening at the Quill and Tankard with your pals from the Maester Monthly podcast, the moderators of the Song of Ice and Fire subreddit. My name is Michael, better known as Bookshelf Stud, and I am joined by a veritable horde of co-hosts and guests and fellow moderators, not least of which is Glass Table Girl, who just uncorked a bottle of wine.
Yes, I am Glass Table Girl. I've uncorked a bottle of wine. My name is also Eliana. Greetings.
I'm Joe Magician, also known as Matt.
I'm Samuel, also known as Sam -R-.
I'm Jeff, better known as Brendan Beefish.
I'm Jen, also known as Jen Snow.
And I'm probably not here.
Just do an intro anyway, because you're probably going to talk, and then I think we should just do it because I think we should just have all of us. We have 7.
My name is Aaron. I'm here, Admiral Kurd.
There are, in fact, currently 7 moderators, one for each kingdom, but we're not going to ask who represents which kingdom, because that's a waste of time when we have a brand new, exciting, fascinating 2 minutes and 9 second long trailer to dissect at the Quill and Tankard for season 7, appropriately enough. 1 mod for every season, also.
Oh.
So, right off the bat, just what was everyone's favorite scene? I'm really curious. There was a lot in this trailer.
I was very glad to see what one user astutely pointed out is Stannis being map-shamed in the last trailer, being followed up in this one by him being banner-shamed.
It's what he deserves.
I think my favorite scene is definitely the scene where Beric Dondarrion is standing in the snow and he holds his sword up, right, and it lights on fire. I was really happy when they brought Beric Dondarrion back in season 6. I was obviously kind of a little bit disappointed that we didn't get Stoneheart, but I was happy that we had Beric there to take the Stoneheart role going forward. So seeing him in season 7 looking like he's going to be doing some serious damage either to the White Walkers or to other assorted bad people. Looks like it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Definitely.
So with a sword on fire, would you call that a light sword? Maybe a light saber?
Lightbringer? Lightbringer. Lightbringer.
Lightbringer.
Really makes you think.
It also looked
Star
like
Wars.
he was in the background in one of those group shots of people fighting in the snow. I'm pretty sure there was a flaming sword at one point. The eagle-eyed people who dissect the trailer have pointed that out in a few different articles.
My favorite scene was I think the last scene where Jon kills a guy and then flexes. It's exactly what I want out of the King of the North. He's covered in furs, but you know he's flexing. He's really showing off the guns for the whites or whoever else is in front of him while there's flames behind him.
Absolutely.
It's Maximum Jon.
Maximum Jon. It looked suspiciously similar to the Battle of the Bastards shot, where the camera's directly behind Jon and then you have a horde in front of him.
Yeah.
They're definitely
They somehow made him look buffer, though.
Yeah. Maybe it's that padded armor. So Jen, what was your favorite scene?
I liked seeing Sansa in the Godswood. I'm looking forward to seeing what she was doing there and who she was talking to or talking about. It's just nice to see her back to being Stark and back to being in the North again.
Yes, absolutely. The end quote from Ned that they gave her, that was great.
That was really good.
That was something that has been brought up before over the years, that Ned told that to Arya, but it was Sansa that really needed to be the one to hear that. So it was nice that they gave that to her.
Yeah, right.
One of the users in the threads points out that her quoting the Pack Survives quote makes it unlikely she'll betray Jon, and they express a lot of
That's
relief
unfortunate.
Yeah.
Terrible opinion. Terrible.
Stark Bowl is happening, guys, in the books.
I feel like there's a chance they'll at least this season, that could be a Sansa quote from episode 7 of this season.
Right.
It could be late.
The thing about any conflict between Sansa and Jon in season 7 is that there has to be some sort of resolution, and most likely to be a resolution favoring them coming together to face the common threat, the common foe.
I think so.
But I think they have to set that conflict up, and that's why you have Littlefinger in the mix, who is prominently in this trailer and in the last trailer, staring
Creepy
from the
finger.
shadows. Like, can you be more like blatant with setting up Littlefinger in this staring from the shadows, whispering in the shadows type role, which I think he's going to have a big impact on Sansa Stark in season 7, and will impact some sort of conflict going between Sansa and Jon come a few weeks now, I guess.
I'm gonna pick that Littlefinger scene as my favorite scene, even though it was in the previous trailer. I'm gonna assert it's an evergreen scene. In that it is just constantly weird and hilarious, and I'm like, what are you doing, Littlefinger? What are you doing?
Just creeping on the crypts like,
weird.
Hey guys.
Yeah.
What did the stage directions for that look like? Like, all right, Aiden, here's what we need you to do.
Peer around the door.
Peek around the corner. A little more creepy. Bring it up a little bit.
Squint the eyes.
Smile a little. Smile for the camera.
Look like you're scheming. Are you scheming enough? All right, good.
Too schemey. Bring it down.
He's sort of. I've been rewatching this scene as we talk because it's so fascinating. The 2 seconds of it, and he sort of sways a little bit too as he's leaning up against the wall. So I gotta wonder if maybe there's like a big dance party, like a prom at Winterfell, and he's standing up against the wall. Like
that is something the show has missed. Is a really great dance scene, like dance off.
That's true.
Dance off.
What if they had like a dance of the dragons?
I think Littlefinger is probably like a dad dancer, like a lot of side to side and snapping. I don't think he's got moves.
He probably thinks he has moves, though. I'm gonna have to pick for my favorite scene the shot of Jaime charging through the field of fire with his lance, just because I think that looks so different from a lot of what we've seen before in Game of Thrones. Like
he looks angry.
First off, he's emoting something other than like hopeless lust, which is nice. But just like I don't know, the way it looks, the big open field, and him charging with a lance. Like, I don't know. There's something about that just looks really different.
I was thinking about that after it was happening. Jaime's noted to be a really good lancer, and that's probably one of the few things he can really still do in combat. I mean, with his hand gone.
That's a good point.
He can hold a lance. That's like the one way you make him useful.
I know from Mount and Blade Warband that if you couch the lance, you get like times 200 damage, which is pretty
wow,
pretty much through the roof. You could probably take down a dragon with that. I'm just saying.
I mean, the question I have about that scene with Jaime is like, why did he choose to fight the Targaryens in the freaking open with 3 dragons? But I don't want to nerd out on the military stuff without even watching the season yet. But looking at the trailer, it looks like his army is just on fire, if not totally immolated. Yeah, and it just leads me to just question his logic. But hey, it makes for a great looking shot, that's for sure.
It really does.
The dumbness of the decision makes me think it's Cersei's decision. Go fight him there, or go fight Dany there.
What if that's the Valonqar scene? What if that's him charging Cersei down? Yeah,
Cersei's right there.
The Valon
charge.
That's a really good scene. I just want to know what he's charging at. I mean, it's got to be a dragon, right?
I mean, I think I honestly, when I look at the trailer and I look at Jaime's expression and look at what's going on around him with everything on fire, it looks like Jaime's last scene.
It really does.
And like how angry he is, how he's emoting something besides lust, anger, or jackassery. He's really he's furious, and he's like galloping at full pace through without any army around him, right? That's another thing that's interesting, right? There's no army following him.
Right. That looks like the end of a battle. That's
And that looks like the way that Jaime might go out is charging through the field of fire in a rage-induced attempt to kill
Tyrion.
Yeah.
Oh, that could
Tyrion on Dragonback?
Or he's just charging north to the wall to become Lord Commander. Just like angrily going straight north.
Maybe he's charging towards Lady Stoneheart. Maybe it's finally happening.
He found her. Catelyn, it's me, Jaime. Hang on, I'll come to you.
He's actually going to pole vault with the lance. It's not a threat. He's going to poke it up against something and then flip over a big wall or whatever.
To kind of take that Jaime scene and like expand it out into the wider seeming lens of what the season's going to be about, there is an awful lot of action scenes in the 2 trailers that we've seen so far. A lot of battle scenes.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the budget that went into creating these scenes. And it's also like really, the interesting thing is like you have the Littlefinger dialogue, but you don't have a lot of dialogue in these trailers. You have a lot of Dothraki charging into the Lannisters, people jumping through from ship to ship, ships on fire, archers firing, the Night's King, Beric Dondarrion lighting his sword. It's very action heavy, and maybe that's for the best. I mean, you have to think that in the books it's going to be somewhat similar, in that the last book looks like it's just
I think the reduced episode order was definitely a move to have more event set pieces like that for this season, rather than a standardly structured, low-key episodes leading up to 8, 9, 10 big finales.
And I think that's a good thing, just in terms of focusing on the show's strength, which is to focus on the spectacle aspect of the show. Where it falls down, in my opinion, is a character like Euron Greyjoy, who we have 2 scenes with in season 6, but is now, Pillow Asbeck is saying that he's going to be a villain that's worse than Ramsay or Joffrey. Well, it's hard to establish Euron as that awful of a character in just a few episodes before he's being launched into battle against the Lannisters or the Targaryens or whoever he's going to be fighting this season.
Yeah.
So that's true, but so you were saying, people only had shorter scenes back then, but that's also because we were scattering those, for lack of a better term, POVs and the camera across all these different disparate characters. But now that these characters have come together, we are afforded more time with multiple characters in one scene, and that might give us more time to establish Euron Greyjoy as a villain.
That's true. There's going to be some of that.
I think there was a user in the trailer thread, user Martin the Andal, that pointed out a fact that for me really cements Euron as a worthy villain, and that's how he managed to get the Iron Board to build this amount of ships with no trees.
He's the Rumpelstiltskin of the Iron Board.
How does he do it?
That is really impressive when you think about it.
So the thing about it, though, is, and I agree that you have, when you cut Essos out of the entire picture, you don't have Meereen, you don't have Braavos, you don't have Volantis, all these, or Pentos, all these set pieces that did take up a lot of screen time in the previous 6 seasons. You still have a whole lot of characters. And the actor, Pillow Asbeck, said, I will be a worse villain than Joffrey and Ramsay. And the thing about both of those 2 characters as villains is that there was a slow build up to them becoming bad. Like, we saw Joffrey as, a little shit, in Winterfell getting slapped around by Tyrion, and then just escalated from there. There's an escalation of force when it comes to the storytelling aspect. And in Ramsay, you see him as the guy who's sweeping the floor, and then it slowly escalates up and up and up, where he's finally reveals himself as the bastard of the Dreadfort, as Roose Bolton's bastard.
Right.
And it just escalates up from there. I don't get the same feeling of escalation when it comes to Euron, at least from season 6, filtering into season 7. And that's something that I think is going to have, I suspect, and I don't know for sure, but it might have an impact on whether Euron can really be considered a villain in the same category as Joffrey or Ramsay or anyone like that.
Right. I mean, he started at a 10.
His line in season 6 about, where are my niece and nephew, let's go murder them. I thought that was one of the iconic villainous lines of the show. That really cemented him as a tremendous force for me.
And his speech, it was so villainous about his big cock. That was amazing.
I was scared.
It's so big.
When you think about it, how different is that from the books? Because in the books, we're not really tuned into Euron that much. We might have a throwaway line in Clash, from Theon being like, oh yes, and my uncle, who's kind of weird and creepy. And then we see him for about we see him in season 6 for perhaps an amount of time that is proportional to the amount of time we get with him in Feast. And then we don't see him that much in Dance. And then all of a sudden we have all of Euron established as this villain worse than Joffrey and Ramsay in one chapter. So theoretically it's doable.
Just in the books, aesthetically, he stands out so much. Like, you see all the fan art of Euron really focuses on the blue lips and the eye patch and everything. It's like a cheap move, but it really makes him so much more memorable. Whereas in the show, he's just another, guy with brown hair that looks a bit menacing. So it's a lot harder for him to stick like that.
The other thing too is those grandiose speeches that he gives, because he's does that from Ib to Ishai, when they see my sails they pray, type speech, which is, I think, was featured in some way in season 6, right? His first scene or no?
Yeah, that's
That's
scene on the bridge.
I think he says it to Balon
on the bridge.
Yeah.
He says, "I'm the first storm and the last" before
Yeah.
killing him.
Which
From Old Town to Karth.
yeah. So there is that sort of establishment there, but Euron's revelation as a villain, and a villain worthy of being the third act villain that people think that Euron's going to be, and I tend to agree with those people who think that, really bears itself out in the Winds of Winter Forsaken chapter, where Euron is suddenly not just this goofy pirate who says these really grandiose and dramatic lines. He's actually really, truly, utterly despicable, and he has power at his back to be as utterly, truly despicable as he possibly can be. And that's something that I hope the show can grab really quickly in season 7 and bring it forward so that it becomes this major villain. But I have a hard time fathoming how we're going to establish him as a villain worse than Joffrey and Ramsay.
They already established the Forsaken in Cersei's last chapter in King's Landing with Septa and Ella. You go through that, the entire tone is made of that, and the lines are literally lifted directly from the Forsaken. She says, "Your gods have forsaken you."
Your gods have forsaken you. This is your god now.
Well, I wonder if that suggests that we are going to get the Cersei Euron thing. We saw the ships heading for King's Landing in this trailer. Euron's ships, that is. I wonder if...
Well, are they Euron ships? Or are they
I wondered about
Iron
that.
Fleet?
It looked like Euron, but...
I think it's Euron.
It's silence in front because it looked like the dragon thing, right? With the sails.
Yeah.
Well, it's...
Yeah, that makes way more sense. I don't think Yara's ship is going to have those sails that we haven't seen before.
I think that they're trying to insert ambiguity, regardless, in the trailer of who is actually sailing on King's Landing and what their intent is.
That's true. Yeah.
So
yeah.
It looks like that the ships are sailing into battle, right? Into King's Landing, but it could be that they're not sailing into battle. It could be Euron going to meet Cersei and parlaying with Cersei.
It could also be Euron taking Victarion's plot from the Winds of Winter Battle of Fire and attempting to go take King's Landing or attack it in an attempt to impress Dany. He still wants those dragons. He's still gonna have to get them somehow.
Yeah.
He's gonna have to impress her. So attacking King's Landing is probably a good way, even if it's a really bad idea.
If it was a battle scene, they would probably do it at night because it's cheaper to do.
That's true. That does seem to be the trend. Although there is going to be this big field of fire thing during the daytime.
That's true.
But there's the ship-to-ship battle that they're showing is at night, and it looks like it's between Euron and the Targaryen Greyjoys. So, I'm not sure how that all fits together, I guess, but...
it's kind of a weird puzzle. In terms of how Euron could be a villain worse than Joffrey and Ramsay... I think we've talked about this before, where Joffrey and Ramsay are kind of... They're evil, but in a smaller way. They're like personal evil to people around them. If what the actor is saying is true, and what we thought about Euron being like the person trying to bring about the apocalypse, that could be what he's talking about. That what he's doing...
super villain level.
Yeah, super villain level.
Yeah,
like he's gonna bring the Krakens. He's gonna commit genocide, something terrible like that, which would fit with what we know about what Euron's kind of planning, if we think he's really aligned with the others in some way.
Well, if you think about, if you're Pilo Asbeck, what exactly do you say in an interview? And it's pretty much exactly what he says, regardless of what ends up being on screen. And it's like what Maisie Williams says every season. It's like, this season's crazy, this season's insane. He's gonna build up Euron, even though we don't know exactly what we get. And he could be just comically bad. He could be a sand snake. We don't know.
He could be. But it kind of lines up with where Book Euron is going in terms of an overarching villain of proportions we haven't seen so far.
Speaking of sand snakes, I don't think we saw any sand snakes in this trailer.
Damn.
I wonder why.
So my question, going back to Euron, is Matt's standard of measurement for establishing Euron as this worst villain had to do with these large scale murders of genocide, etc. Why does Pilo Asbeck try and gauge himself as a worse villain than either Joffrey or Ramsay? Neither of them have committed the same level of murder, technically, as Cersei in blowing up the Sept. So maybe when they show him as a villain, and they do this in The Forsaken, they don't show him as terrible through grandiose big acts against multiple people. It's that personal level of horror and harm, which is how they do it with Joffrey against Sansa. It's how they do it with Ramsay torturing Theon.
And
so with
Sansa.
Euron, who would it be?
Well, Sansa again, if we go by the trend.
Because, like,
she somehow comes south.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
that's a good point. That's a really good point.
Someone on in my Twitter mentions, and I'm sorry, I don't remember who it was, had this idea that we can see Euron's evil come to the fore very quickly if you have a similar motif in the season that you do have from The Forsaken, where at the end of the Forsaken, Aeron Greyjoy and Folly of Flowers are tied to the prow of silence, and they're going into battle. Like, if you could tie a major point of view character, think of, and Theon's been tortured enough, but Theon stands out as someone who could be the candidate to be captured by Euron and tied to the prow of the silence, and then sent to battle. Be a good one. Like, that will grab, that emotionally manipulates the viewers in a good way, sort of, to bring them into the to like be like, yeah, Euron's actually not a great guy. He's like really, really bad. Especially if you go ahead.
No, I was gonna say something dumb, as in, do you think they would go for sort of a Mad Max vibe with tying him to the prow of their?
I think that would be great.
Ship.
I honestly think that would be great. Or if you see like Euron like cutting out, like personally, like taking the knife to people's tongues, like things like that have a real visceral reaction.
True.
Maybe there's a reason we haven't heard Tyrion say much in the trailers so far.
Grabs his tongue.
Hashtag the Quiet Lion.
Hamfest42. Well, we've talked a lot about Euron, who is in exactly like maybe 3 seconds total. Yeah.
He's gonna get like 3 scenes all season. Just wait.
He's gonna get killed off in like instantly. Episode 2.
Yeah,
it's gonna be great.
Eaten by a dragon, he's out.
But a lot of the focus of this trailer seems to be on the Frozen North, particularly Jon Snow going into the Frozen North. I mean, we also see Bran and Mira at the wall.
But they get through.
Yeah, it looks like it.
She somehow dragged him the whole way there.
I'm surprised we couldn't see Mira's arms in that distant shot of them, because she should be
huge
buff.
biceps.
If I remember correctly, didn't Benjen and Stark drop them off like within sight of the wall? So it's not that far of a pull for her to bring Bran.
It's not that far, but it's a couple football fields.
It's still pretty far.
It's pretty far, especially in the cold.
And Bran has hit puberty by now, so he's all heavy and grumpy. So
Bran is taller than Jon.
Jon's itty bitty.
Jon is itty bitty.
Kit Harington is itty bitty.
What did we think of Bran's wheelchair?
Where did that come from?
Is that Doran's wheelchair?
I think it might be Doran's. Hold on.
I'm looking that up.
Yeah, okay,
as well
okay.
right
Pull
now.
up Doran's.
I mean, maybe it's the same. Maybe Tyrion gave him that design.
Yeah, that's right.
Up at the wall before.
Tyrion.
He's just dropping off plans for stuff everywhere he goes.
It'll take me a while to find all these clips, but
it does look similar.
One user by the username of CAAKSOCKER. This user points out that in the world book, The World of Ice and Fire, it's stated that although Westeros has wheel technology, they don't use it much because they don't have ramp technology.
There's no way that was in The World of Ice and Fire.
Wait, really? Are you sure?
They're quite specific on this point.
This sounds like The World of Ice and Fire, though. There's no way this is true. This is a joke.
Ramp.
Maybe they meant ramps, like the vegetable. So I searched the word ramp on A Search of Ice and Fire for the World of Ice and Fire book, and no results found.
Weird.
Can we think of synonyms for ramp?
They were very
Inclined
specific,
plane?
so I guess they must be right.
I'm just going to believe them. I'm not going to look this up.
I would trust Cocksocker any day.
One thing I found really interesting about the Frozen North we've seen so far is that we've seen Jon looks like he's north of the wall, and also looks like he's very far south, meaning Dany. And Bran has showed up, and he's sitting in a wheelchair, hallucinating wildly underneath the weirwood. It seems like Sansa's job is to hold the North together while her 2 brothers are off doing very weird things.
That'd be really interesting, because that puts a lot of, if they end up going with the Jon Sansa conflict, having Jon out of the way and having Sansa and Littlefinger in the north is a good way to be like, "Oh, your brother's gone. Time for you to start flexing your muscles." Like how, you don't have to listen to your brother. Your brother gave you the command while he's gone. Kind of like divide the two. I guess Jon will be using Littlefinger's jetpack a bit if he's going to be in far north of the Wall to Dragonstone to Winterfell.
Yeah,
I gotta figure he's going Dragonstone north.
He could. I guess
just because you want to get him interacting with Dany early on, don't you?
Well, you have to imagine that one of the first scenes in the first episode is going to be Dany seizing Dragonstone. Like all those shots of, because they have to establish her in Westeros.
They might actually open with that. Yeah,
I think they will too.
It'd be a good opener. I think it'd be a nice emotional
her on the beach.
Opener.
Yeah,
I think that'd be a good shot.
I guess that they'll have to. Jon will have to hear news of it by episode 2, right, and be in Dragonstone
on his way south. Yeah,
because with those 7 episodes for the season, it's really, you don't have a lot of breathing space.
No, it's tight. Yeah, I mean, and they're longer episodes, but it's still. My guess is we're gonna see more sort of time skips, not explicit, not like 5 months later, but like.
But yeah, so that could be Sansa's plot is just. How do I hold this all together while everybody else is gone?
And then it becomes like a point of like frustration for her, like when Jon comes back and was like, "Oh, I made this," just theorizing here, that made this grand alliance with Daenerys. What did you do while I was gone, sort of thing.
Right.
And then, it becomes like a point of conflict for the two to.
Do you think?
To kind of go.
Do you think
that's not Doran's wheelchair?
It's not.
It's not. It's decidedly not. They're totally different.
You know what? I appreciate that because I would have believed them just using Doran's wheelchair prop.
They were not that lazy.
Awesome. I like how it has a third wheel. It's.
Oh, is it foreshadowing for someone being the third wheel?
Bran. Just want to get rid of him.
I wonder if this is kind of apropos of nothing, but if Sansa's going to be at all interested in somehow being involved in taking Cersei down as well, like if they're going to try and get that involved in the North's foreign policy, so to speak.
It's a really interesting question. I think is what is going to be the relationship between the North and the South, because as far as Jon's concerned, he's facing a massive invasion by the White Walkers to his north. How involved is he actually going to be in the South?
Right.
For that matter, how involved is Daenerys going to be in the North? Since looks like she's going to be focused on the South, fighting the Lannisters. If the trailers are to be believed, you have the Dothraki fighting Lannister bannermen. You have the Ironborn doing Ironborn things in the South. You don't see Stark shields anywhere besides in winter. You don't see Lannister shields up north as well. So it looks like those two plot lines may not intersect necessarily.
Right, they seem pretty separate.
That could be Jon's pitch to Dany. I think he says it in this in the trailer. I think he might be trying to convince her not to go to war and just go straight north and just be like, ignore the Iron Throne, ignore Cersei, ignore the Lannisters. The White Walkers are here now. We need your dragons and your troops. Please come north. And it looks like she rebuffs him and he goes back north.
That would be interesting.
In a way. And that's kind of like also, people have theorized that in the end of the Winds of Winter or in A Dream of Spring, Daenerys is going to be faced with a similar choice where the others are coming south of the Wall, and she has to choose whether to fight the others or to take on Aegon, who will likely be sitting the Iron Throne at some point for at least a short amount of time.
Right.
And the popular conception is that Daenerys will focus on fighting south before going north. Sort of thing, which will lead to all sorts of horrible things that will happen in the North, because Jon can't defeat the White Walkers by his lonesome, or or Stannis in the books can't defeat the White Walkers by his lonesome, even though he'll put in his best effort.
And by best effort you mean burning his daughter Shireen, I assume.
That's a pretty good effort.
That's a good effort.
I don't like the guy, but that's really like the best you can do.
A for effort.
That's honestly. Going all in. Yeah.
No, well, I think so. I mean, I think that cost that you're sort of talking about of Dany not immediately going north, I've always thought that in the books that could be her losing at least one of the dragons to this sort of petty war.
Oh, absolutely.
So I wonder if they're going to do that same sort of thing in the show and have. I mean, obviously, there's no like dragon horn subplot. It seems in the show. So until there is, yeah. But it doesn't seem likely one's going to get stolen, but at least shot out of the sky or something.
Or Jaime ramming it with a lance.
Or Jaime lancing it, exactly.
That'd be sweet.
That would actually be really cool.
Goes right for the eye, like they say in the stories.
That would be awesome.
Yes.
Not gonna lie.
Actually, that would actually work because he probably heard that from Tyrion. He's like, go for the eyes. That's what Tyrion said.
That's right. Or he
Is it
remembers
Silver in
how
the Mirror Shield?
Oberyn died, and he was like, that'll probably work on a dragon. Go for the eyes.
So if the motif ends up being that Daenerys fights in the south instead of going north, this is an interesting way that, to me, sounds similar to what George was saying, which was back in the days, are the books in the show going to be different?
Yeah.
They will be different. They'll diverge. Like, what is this? He says that, is that a Faulkner line? Someone who's more smart than me would know. Two roads diverged in a wood, and they meet at the end, sort of
Robert
idea.
Frost.
Yeah, Robert Frost.
Robert
But
Frost,
he doesn't say they
whoever
meet
it
in the
is.
end, does he? He's just like,
I
The
think he
path
says they meet.
untraveled?
Was
I
the
don't
road
think they ever
the
did.
road less traveled?
The journeys are the
Two roads diverged in a yellow wood,
I took the road less traveled.
and that has made all the difference. Yeah.
You all are banned.
You're
said it
banned.
wrong
You don't
first.
even
Get
know
outta here.
Robert Frost, and Robert Frost is the reason we even have the series named A Song of Ice and Fire.
That's true. Fun
Get him.
fact.
Get him, Eliana.
You're
That
banned.
Quill and Tankard.
You guys are a bunch of bullies. I'll take my microphone and go home.
You are home.
When you're with us.
Damn it.
Wait, he's not in the Beefish airship? That's weird.
The SSB fish.
Yeah.
Wait, would it be a submarine because it's a fish?
Ooh. I assumed airfish just because he's subverting the trope.
Oh, like a zeppelin.
Mm-hmm.
I had a point.
Nah.
Basically, how the show and the books will meet at the end, right? Similar plot lines. Jen, what do you think?
I agree that you would be in an airship. No,
Thank you, Jen.
+1 to Jen.
no, I am unfortunately I don't recall the quote from George that you're talking about right now, but I mean the broad strokes of what the show and the books are doing have got to be the same. And so yeah, I can see Dany going south before going north.
Yeah.
You must go. Wait. You must go south to go. Is that even no? You must go east to go west. You must go.
I think south and north are in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they are
Right.
too.
Maybe that's what.
But I don't know how you
Should we
tie
look
in
this
with
up?
her vision of her at the Trident with the blue-eyed warrior. I can't remember.
Well, that's the thing, right? So if the White Walkers are advancing south, they just push Jon all the way south of the Neck, and that's where the final confrontation takes place at the Trident, when it should have taken place long before, much, much farther north. But now the entire north is devastated by the White Walkers.
Is that why Rhaegar goes to the Trident to begin with? Is because he thinks that's the battle at the Trident he's supposed to fight at?
Yeah,
I
that's why
think
he
so.
charges.
It's not.
Rhaegar is wrong about everything.
That's why
So,
he
yes.
charges across the river into a whole bunch of people in a completely defensible position because it's prophesized that he's going to lead 3 heads of the dragon there and win, who he thinks are the Kingsguard.
Whoa.
I mean, Rhaegar thought he was the Azor Ahai first, and then had to be talked out of it by Aemon. So Rhaegar has a good history of being wrong about this stuff. He also thought Aegon was going to be the Song of Ice and Fire. Wrong.
Wrong. So wrong.
So, yeah, that
That's
would make
Jon
sense.
Connington.
It's not Jon Connington.
The Scottish
Okay,
Jon
so
Connington.
Well, what if it is?
Here's
Jon
a discussion.
Connington?
It's not.
That would be the worst surprise ever.
The best, you mean?
I kind of really like Jon Connington. One
Heyo.
of my favorites now.
Do you guys think
Fair enough.
Aegon
Okay, so
could
here-
still show up this season?
No.
To talk about Aegon a little bit, like here's a discussion question that I've had that I've kind of wrestled in my own mind. If you're pitting Daenerys against the Lannisters, against Cersei Lannister, is it the same sort of idea that George seems to be going with the eventual Dany Aegon conflict, where you have Aegon, who's kind of a sympathetic kid, right? He at least has sympathetic people around him. You don't root against him necessarily, at least so far. But in a Dany Aegon, yeah, I'm sure you do, Jen. But in a Dany Aegon sort of thing, it becomes like much more ambiguous as to who you're supposed to root for. But in a Dany Cersei conflict, I mean,
yeah,
you're going to be rooting for Daenerys. Obviously, it's to me, it seems like another attempt by the show to kind of highlight Daenerys as the good guy, when Daenerys is not necessarily the good. Well, she's a good guy in a sense, but she's much more ambiguous in the books, and I think that's the motif that George goes for, or will be going for.
The show markets so heavily on Dany being like an idol figure, and people want to dress up as her and emulate her. They're not going to, cast her in much more of a grey light. I think out of nowhere, certainly.
Also, Cersei's characterized pretty differently in the show. Cersei is also very much an aspirational figure for a lot of viewers. They also, a lot of people sympathize with Cersei, and even though she does questionable things, she still has that, what people call that badass factor, because they like that moral ambiguity in her, and they like her as that strong female character version. And so I don't think it's as clear cut in the show because of the Cersei fan base.
That's true. And they also cut out a lot of the stuff from Cersei where she was sleeping with the Kettleblacks to get stuff. They made her a much more stronger female character in the show by removing a lot of that.
I would agree that Cersei in the show is better than Cersei in the books.
Like a better person. Yeah.
A better person, but also a better character, too. I think that she's a much more sympathetic character. In the books, even in A Feast for Crossbow, she's given a point of view. It's just a litany of Cersei is dumb, here's my bad decision. Cersei is dumb, here's my bad decision. And her chickens come home to roost very, very quickly. The thing, though, is in the show, even though she's much more sympathetic, she's still a villain. She's a sympathetic villain. I don't see a world where the fans are like, oh my gosh, who should we root for? Should we be rooting for Cersei or for Daenerys? No, people are obviously going to be rooting for Daenerys, and rightfully so, given the context of
especially
the show.
with Tyrion on Daenerys' camp. There's not the ambiguity of Blackwater where you have, Cersei and Joffrey who are clearly bad, but also there's Tyrion and we like him and he's funny. And Davos, who's a good... you don't have that kind of mix. Although you do have Jaime and
Bronn on Cersei's side. Even if you don't like her, you'll root for the two of them.
That's true of a lot of fans, I think. The Euron thing's going to complicate it, hopefully. Whoever's team he ends up on, which, obviously won't be Theon and Asha, but...
it'll be Team Euron. He's always on his own team.
By the way, I went back and looked at that scene where the ships are sailing to King's Landing, and on the sails is a kraken, and each of the krakens has a red eye painted on it.
So nailed it.
Really?
I'm betting it's...
Hold on, let me look at this.
Really? The crow's eye.
It's about 107 in the trailer.
I see the red... Are you talking about the red eye in the middle of it?
Oh, yeah.
I can, yeah. Yeah, I can see it. So one of the sails of the ship has a red eye prominently, almost like a blotch of red.
Yeah, there's a couple in the background too, I think.
The ones in the back looks like they didn't even render the color on them.
You're right.
It's too expensive.
It appears that everybody on those ships is infected with grayscale. I don't know if that's a red eye. It looks like just two red stripes.
Yeah, but it's on a bunch of them,
Oh yeah, now I see it. Now that I've expanded it out, I can see the two.
There's those two, and then there's yeah. So
there's more behind him.
I think that's a Euron, or maybe not.
The squid is sideways, and that's how you know he's a crooked character.
Oh my god!
I think you're on to something there.
Oh!
I wish you guys weren't the worst ever.
Speaking of the worst ever, Clegane Bowl?
No.
I guess that's happening, maybe.
Sandor's in the south, kind of, maybe?
Please, no.
We're never going to hear the end of it, right? So, but at the end of season 6, the Brotherhood Without Banners heads north to go fight against the White Walkers or the True Threat or whatever it is that Beric says at the end of the season.
True enemy.
So, the true enemy. I have a hard time seeing Sandor Clegane ride south, especially since you have scenes of him in this trailer fighting in the north with a bunch of snow all around.
We do,
right?
but then there's...
You see the same thing with Jon.
Also this scene... Hold on, let me see if I can just paste this into Skype. At the end of a character who is in a sunny climate, and he's got the luscious locks of everybody's favorite dog man.
Brand.
It does kind of look like Brand.
No, that's Clegane.
Mr. Peanut Butter?
No, not
That's
him.
a random extra.
It's Mr. Peanut Butter.
What happened to his pants?
Yeah, what did happen to his pants? He's wearing...
Yeah, it's a good question.
He's got like...
Does anybody wear shorts in Westeros?
If anyone would, it's
It'd be Sander.
This guy. Sander would wear shorts.
What time is that at in the trailer?
1:22.
It's obviously the lens flare is meant to block out the person's face.
I can get around it.
Are we sure those his legs? Could they just be tan leggings?
Oh,
Oof.
yeah.
Maybe it just came from yoga. Did a little yoga.
I mean, I want to be wearing camo cargo shorts if I could, but I mean...
Is there another pair of kind of shorts besides camo cargo shorts?
No.
There's a question.
Those
that
are
I
the
have.
correct ones.
Those are the only pair of shorts that I wear.
There's a few, I can rattle off 4 good comments I saw really quickly. User Nettles Rosart pointed out that the man next to Bran when he's in the wheelchair, because I see a lot of people wondering about that, could well be the maester that was with the Boltons.
Yeah, I could see that.
User The Clockwork Elves pointed out that they like that in pretty much every trailer or piece of footage for Season 7, it's got a different angle of Arya just on that horse.
Yeah. No idea what she's doing.
Arya Horseface.
User Kitten of Death points out that it looks like the Unsullied have a sneaky moment where they go underneath something and open the gates from inside. Who
Yes.
here's thinking that Tyrion, Lord of all the drains and sewers of Casterly Rock, gets them in and claims his birthright.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that sounds
That line
right.
was in the show too, right? It was in the show. At
Yes,
one
it
point.
Yeah, he
was.
talks about
It was right before Stannis arrives for Blackwater. He's talking to Varys on the top outside of King's Landing.
The tits and
So you know
wine
if you see-
conversation.
If you see that as one of the scenes they show before the episode airs, that
Oh, yeah.
is likely going
Yeah,
to be
good
happening.
point.
And the only other one I had was something that I think Admiral Kurd was interested in, and that's that user Newboy97 has a thread up asking, isn't it kind of weird that Dragonstone seems to be completely uninhabited?
Yeah, like there should be at least
is.
some people left behind. Do you think they're like going to have some guards left that are just going to get quickly killed by Grey Worm just to shame Stannis a bit more?
That'd be amazing.
Banner wasn't enough.
I'm
It'd
just
best if
hoping
they
that-
were wearing his thing.
It would be the
Do you think
best
Salee's
if one of them is like, I heard he killed his own daughter, and everyone gasps and like, what a horrible man. I'm glad
They
he's
betray
there.
Stannis. They throw down their swords like, Danny, you're the true queen of Westeros. We hate Stannis.
Will Danny come across the fetus jars, do you think?
Oh. Yeah, do you think Celine
Come
takes
across
God, I
those
the-
with
forgot
her?
about
what?
that.
The what?
The fetus jars. You remember
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Selene's
Oh.
fetus. Yeah.
You don't
Selyse-
think that Celise brought that with her?
No, it was a drag. I don't think she brought him.
I mean, maybe
I mean,
she.
it would be
They would-
ridiculous if she did,
Mhm.
but
She's ridiculous. That's why it's like not implausible.
But if she did, wouldn't you burn the fetuses? They have king's blood. Why do you need Shireen then?
Oh my god. You're right.
Wow.
Thinking outside the box.
Because D&D character assassinating Stannis all over again.
Those jars were Cogman's idea. It's one of the reasons yeah.
God, man.
Go on, Sam. What do you think about Cogman?
Tell us how you really feel, Sam.
Let's make sure he
The
listens.
only writer I like on the show is Dave Hill. He's the best.
Wow.
He's throwing down the
That-
gauntlet
that
right
is
there.
throwing down the gauntlet.
His invention of Ollie, his promotion from intern to proper writer. Excellent.
Dave
career.
Hill is not bad. He's written a lot of good scenes in the stuff that he's done, and I think he gets a bad rep. I still have that thread to write in defense of Dave Hill.
Is he like the Mylod of the writers? He gets too bad a rap. A
Well,
scapegoat.
Mylod really screwed up that one moment with Arya where it was just like brain dead. Like, why? It's like inexcusable that moment. But a lot of Mylod stuff isn't that bad.
Yeah, like the Terminator wife.
Do you think that's really a hill worth dying on, though? I mean,
A Dave Hill.
At least it's
Hill's
not as
worth
bad as
dying on.
Daznak.
Yes.
Daznak.
Is Dave Hill the true hero's journey of A Song of Ice and Fire?
In the
He
writer's
lifts
room.
more book dialogue than any one of the other current writers.
there
I
you
hope
go.
you guys know that.
So he knows he can't write, and he takes.
Now I feel
choices.
bad.
damn,
That's a
Sam.
good strategy, though.
Brutal.
That's what we want.
Steal like an artist. That's a strategy.
Be George the pack rat.
That's right. I mean, it's not like George doesn't steal half of his good stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Those look like tan pants on that dude.
Frey pies is stolen.
Nailed it.
I'm sorry.
Not cargo
Thanks
shorts.
for figuring that one out, Aaron.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. They smeared the face. They smeared the face, then applied the lens flare.
How come no one's talking about Miss Sandy and Grey Worm kissing?
No one cares.
Exactly.
Haven't we already seen them do something
I'm
like
over
that?
it.
I care.
Okay,
Oh,
I've
yeah.
got something. So,
Go, Eliana.
there's a scene, the first scene we see of Daenerys in this trailer. There's something sticking out of her hair. What is it?
Is it a crown?
Crown or something, like a decoration.
Oh, I see. When she's silhouetted in the map room, yeah.
Yeah. It just looks like a barrette in her
It
hair.
does look like a barrette. Maybe they forgot to take it out.
What did you think? What are you thinking, Eliana?
I don't know. I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure out if it's like in the 90s when everyone wore butterfly clips, or if it's like,
That's what
what's
it looks
going on
like.
with that?
That's what it looks like.
If you squint really hard, it looks like cereal Pharrell.
Oh my god.
No.
I
You're
was-
right.
I was a
man.
Pharrelliist. I was a believer in that one.
I hope for maximum Stannis shaming, it's the little wooden figurine that Shireen had, and she somehow put it in her hair.
Damn.
It would be great if, like, the first 30 minutes of the first episode is just Dany wandering through Dragonstone, shitting on Stannis. Like, she finds Shireen's chambers, and she's like, "Who would make their child live in a room like this?" And, like, sheds a single tear.
Tears down all the banners.
Looks directly
men
into the
swear
camera and just,
fealty.
like Sarah McLachlan's it, you know?
She just goes, "By the way, Stannis Baratheon is dead."
Starts scrawling, like, "Eat shit Stannis" on the wall.
This is the show I want.
on a more serious note, she might find the Stannis, the letter there from the Night's Watch, saying that they need to all ride north.
Oh, that would be a nice MacGuffin for her to stumble across, like a little plot device thing.
That's a good.
There's a lot of potential stuff left behind, though, for real. Like you're saying, and especially if they decide to make Dragonstone an obsidian mining hub, like it is in the books, then that might be a reason why the Night's Watch or Jon or whoever is like, "Hey, maybe we should get back in touch with whoever's still at Dragonstone." The landlord.
Stannis and Sam dropped that in their scene in season 5 that they have on Dragonstone.
Right. Good point. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
that's true.
Yeah.
That was a pretty great shot, I'm going to say, and they did a good job of establishing Dragonstone as an area of volcanic activity by really showing, I ain't no geologist, but showing, like, when Dany's walking across the beach, like, those rocks and the patterns there, like, and the way that rock looks is very much, like, indicative of this is a volcanic area.
Basalt.
It's very cool.
That shot
too.
really rocked. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's pretty, I like that a lot.
Boo! I boo
don't
you,
get-
Sam.
Oh,
rocked.
what? Oh, I get it. Ha.
Do you think I was booing you, Eliana?
No, I didn't know what you were booing at all. I was like, why is
It
that
was a
booing?
stone cold, brilliant shot.
Oh!
Can we just have a bonus
Banned.
episode of just all the
That was a shisty pun. Get it? Because schist is a type of rock. Everybody.
No, I didn't know that.
And banned.
Have we seen Sam at all?
Just in pictures, I think they've done some promo photos of him and Gilly, but I think that's it.
Yeah, I don't remember him.
him with his wand.
I mean, I don't think there's going to be that many good action shots of him like flipping through books. You know, like
pouring through it.
There will be when Old Town gets burned.
then he'll be actually like flipping, like somersaulting through the books as he escapes the.
Perfect.
Yeah,
I don't think Sam's gonna have much to do this season.
I think he's going to read books for 6
Who will
episodes.
have more screen time, Euron or Sam?
Sam. Because he's got Heartsbane. There's going to be something there.
He does have.
Or Sam has so many important things to do that they can't even include him in the trailer because it'd be too spoilery.
True.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it.
Every shot of him is just
everything.
him reading spoilers straight into the camera.
It's just Sam reading The Winds of Winter.
He opens a book of prophecy and it just says, Stannis Baratheon sucks.
What? His prologue is ill in pain?
I can't believe Jane Westerling bites it. Wait, who is Jane Westerling?
Don't trust the hips? Jane? What does this mean?
You really are a wizard.
Well, you said the Night's King and the Ravens. What do you want to say about that?
Yeah, it looks like the Ravens are being warged by Bran, right? I mean, that's...
Yeah, so one of the Ravens looks like he's being warged by Bran, and then it looks like they're flying over the Night's King and the army of the dead underneath of him. And the next shot has him at the Winterfell Godswood. So with what looks like the three-eyed raven,
or a maester,
or someone, or a maester standing there.
Yeah, it could be that Maester Wolken. I mean, I know we've talked about maybe having part of the Battle of Ice in The Winds of Winter being from Bran's perspective, like through a raven's eye view of it. So do you think we're going to actually get like a take on that?
That would be, I mean, I think that's really cinematic. It's a great way to attack the material that's not just standard tracking shots of horses charging across and colliding into spear walls and stuff like that. True. You saw in the Battle of Bastards, for instance, or in every other battle the show is featured. But I think it remains to be seen. It looks like if you have the ravens flying around, that at least it opens up the possibility that might be a course that they'll pursue this season. And
if you look at what Jon's doing in this chapter, he appears to be trapped by whites with a bunch of guys in the far north. Maybe.
Is that the far north?
It looks like the far north.
It could be the far north, or it could be like a heavily snowed in.
It could be the Trident.
With the amount of rocks that you're seeing there usually means north of the wall, but it could be south of it. They usually do trees around Winterfell.
Well, they do also have the rocks in Stannis' camp in season 5.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, Davos is standing on a rocky hillside too when he finds Shireen's burnt thing.
George, please, we're talking about the rocks.
We've been talking about the rocks.
But if it is south, if it is in Winterfell and Jon is fighting the whites outside of Winterfell, does that mean that the wall is coming down this season?
It's got to be coming down.
I feel like it.
I mean, it has to, right?
It's like an end of season thing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I almost thought they were going to do it, but before we knew anything about season 6. Yeah, I thought season 6 would end with that.
Plot twists. They're going to build it higher.
Oh, that is truly unexpected.
And there's that theory going around that Bran got touched by the Night's King and now he's gone through the wall.
Oh,
maybe that breaks the magic somehow. I don't know.
But I have to imagine. I don't think it's going to be a season-ending thing, right? If they're fighting south of the wall, it has to be an early season thing. Maybe that's the end of.
Actually, it would be hilarious. Yeah, if Bran just like walks through the wall at the end of episode 1 and then it comes down.
Oops. Well, actually, Jon could go north then south. He could escape and then go down to Dany and be like, "Oh my God, everything's going terribly."
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi, I made a huge mistake.
We lost the wall. Big mistake.
Welcome back to Westeros. By the way, we've destroyed everything.
Hope you weren't planning on visiting the wall anytime soon.
Tyrion, remember the time you pissed off it? Yeah, that can't happen anymore.
This was a lot of fun, guys. We should... they have another trailer. We should do it again.
Yeah, I know. Do you think... See, last time I asked we were getting another one, and obviously we were getting another one. But do you think we are getting another one at this point?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron, but it's usually like 3 or 4, right?
I think we're getting another one.
All right. Hope one trailer is just a minute of Littlefinger staring,
Ooh. We can make that trailer.
Yeah.
We could loop that.
Let's do it. I have been one of your hosts, Michael, better known as Bookshelf Stud.
And I have been another one of your hosts, Eliana, known as Glass Table Girl.
I've been Joe Magician, also known as Matt.
Jeff, known as Brendan B. Fish.
I've been Samuel, or Sam R with all the hyphens.
And I've been Jen, aka Jen Snow.
Why'd you listen to this?
Thanks, Aaron.
We are the punniest. We are the punniest
Aaron,
of the cast.
Aka Admiral Kurd, our editor. Thank you guys for listening.
We've suddenly gone to NPR
another,
voice.
Horrifying episode of The Quill and Tankard.
Please unsubscribe.
Don't listen to him.
Like, smash that like button.